to kick off this video by saying that I love Hairspray. Oh my gosh. It is one of my favorite musicals, and I'm sure that I was an annoying mess when this musical first came out. Good Lord, I can only imagine. And albeit I've only seen the film adaptation of the movie starring John Travolta, Nikki Blonsky, Zac Efron, and that is just a few of the heavy hitters that are on the roster for that star-studded cast. But one day, I do hope to know what George Benson is talking about and make my way over to Broadway to see the live musical version for the first time. Cannot wait. I'm bringing this up because I recognize that though the film adaptation is fantastic in my eyes, I know that film adaptations of anything typically will leave certain things out. So I just want to make that clear, because what I'm going to be talking about is the film version of Hairspray, not the Broadway musical. Even though I'm going to be looking at Tracy from a more critical lens in this video, I do like her character. I do appreciate what her character brings to the film. She's bubbly. She has an optimistic view of the world around her. Because let's be for real, it does take a special level of high-spirited to look at rats on the street the same way that Giselle does in Enchanted. I'm just saying. And Tracy's also incredibly determined and hopeful. By all accounts, we never see Tracy buying into the idea that her size is a limitation for why she can't achieve the things that she wants, particularly her main goal being a dancer on the Corny Collins show. Not only that, Tracy Turnblad is very much pro-integration and one of the few non-Black characters that we see in the movie who are explicitly so, probably outside of Corny Collins himself. In fact, when she's asked during her audition for the Corny Collins show if she would swim in an integrated pool, she says yes.
I sure would. I'm all for integration. It's the new frontier.
Which more or less is one of the attributing factors that cost her getting on the show for the first time. And when she finally makes it on the Corny Collins show and he asks her a question about what she's wishes for, I believe, Tracy Turnblad wishes that every day was Negro Day. Negro Day, for those who don't know, is the one day a month that Corny Collins show is hosted by Motormouth Maybelle, played by Queen Latifah, and where all the other Black dancers, singers, songwriters get a chance to showcase their talent. Although this response could have cost Tracy the spot that she had dreamed of, that she wanted for so long, she did not hesitate to stand up for what was right. In fact, she didn't even think twice about it. And I think that level of just, this is objectively how I feel about this thing, especially in the time that this movie takes place in, deserves some applause. So yes, I think Tracy is a great advocate in some ways. And also, it is that not thinking twice sometimes that makes Tracy Turnblad's character a little bit frustrating to watch. Because it is one thing to believe in a more progressive world and operate as such, right? It's another thing to do so in a way that feels a little bit unreasonably oblivious, to the point that how you move can sometimes cause more harm than good for the folks around you, but that obliviousness is keeping you from seeing the forest for the trees. So, as I've set this up, just so y'all understand where I'm coming from, this video is about the well-intended but also oblivious allyship of Tracy Turnblad. My gripe with Tracy is not the fact that she's not Jane Elliott in high school. That doesn't even make sense for what the movie is or anything like it. As a viewer, I know what I'm getting into when I'm watching Hairspray, and I know what I'm signing up for, and I like what I'm signing up for. I understand that Hairspray is not meant to be this ultra deep examination of the politics and racial tension and segregation in 1960s Baltimore. Although that's the time that the movie is set in, and yes, we do address those issues in the film, the intent is for it to be presented in a lighthearted way without being flippant, in my opinion, and the film accomplishes that. This doesn't lessen my love and appreciation for what Hairspray is, and when I need and want something more in-depth and analytical, documentary style, or what have you, I have a myriad of movies, television shows, and books that I can go to, so I just want to emphasize that point. I'm not asking Hairspray to be anything different than what it is, because I appreciate it for what it is. If I could summarize the primary issue that I have with Tracy Turnblad, it's the fact that She operates as if she's living on the moon and everybody else is on Earth. I could attribute that to her level of optimism that sometimes sways into being a little bit naive. And, you know, she's young, and I could totally appreciate that. At the same time, some of the questions that Tracy poses throughout the film, some of the ways that she moves about, kind of gives that she doesn't understand things around her. I also feel like there's something there about the film kind of underscoring this point that because Tracy does not fit into the societal standards of beauty, she therefore understands what it feels like to be othered, and then consequently understands that othering that happens to the other black folks in the cast. That's a lot of other. Woo. Okay. I feel like I just said other like 15 times in the span of a minute. My God. But anyways, I'm not taking that away from her character at all, because that is there and we see it. When Tracy goes to audition for the Corny Collins show, she is by far the best dancer out of the three girls. But all of the three girls don't meet whatever type of physical requirements that Miss Von Tussle feels is befitting to be on the Corny Collins show as a main dancer. And so Tracy, by all accounts, does not get to be on the show because she's not a thin white woman. Along with the reason I said before, which was when Miss Von Tussle posed the immigration question as a test to Tracy in which she fails. And that ultimately leads me to my point, is that if Tracy is pro integration, she would then have to have a degree of understanding that segregation is a thing. And she sometimes presents and acts like she doesn't in the questions that she asks and the way that she moves. And back to my point about the comparison of understanding othering by proximity of not fitting into a hegemonic beauty standard, which keeps her from accessing the show. The fact of the matter is, Tracy can still audition to be as part of the main cast. Seaweed and other characters, his little sister Inez, prior to the end of the movie, could not even fathom that possibility. Not to invalidate Tracy's struggles with being picked on because she's a plus-size woman, but just to say that doesn't mean that she automatically gets the othering that happens to some of the black cast members. Just saying. That might be a reach, but that is something that I was thinking about for a cool minute. Okay, moving on. Now, let's look at some of those things that Tracy says, and she does, that gives the impression that she doesn't know what time it is. And in my opinion, that just doesn't make any sense. Let's start with the first thing. Tracy goes to school every day. Granted, she may not be paying attention, but there's just no way that she can't see the fact that all of her classes are segregated. It's like there's no way that she can't know that, right? It's right in front of her face every single day, at school at the very least, if she doesn't see it anywhere else. In fact, she only interacts with the black kids at school when she's sent to detention. And let me just say, let's hold on right there. Talk about a prime example of school to prison pipeline. My God, today. That school literally said, "We are legally obligated to have you students here that we don't want. So we're going to come up with any excuse that we can possibly find to get you sent to detention all day long so we don't have to actually educate you." That in itself should have been an indicator for Tracy to kind of see things a little bit more. Like, you can only see your black friends when you're in detention with them. I don't know. Feels odd to me, but whatever. Now let's move along to the next point. The school dance. So Tracy goes in there. She's looking for her friend Seaweed. She asks him if they can do the Peyton Place for Corny together. To be clear, I don't want to make it seem like she's like morally reprehensible or wrong because she asked her friend who made up the dance that she wants to do with him at the school dance. It is what follows after that. So he's telling her, like, "Tracy, are you crazy? Like, we can't do this together because you have to dance with your folks and I have to dance with mine." And she asks him why. And I don't understand the why question, especially posed to him, the person who has to be at the full brunt of experiencing what segregation brings. It doesn't feel like she's reading the room. Oh my God. I don't know. He gives her permission to borrow the dance, to go show Corny Collins what she can do in real time. And she gives him a hug in the middle of the dance. And you see Amber kind of like look over, like, oh, like, I can't believe you just touched her. Like I said, there's something to say to the credit of pushing the envelope where it's necessary, but it's the lack of awareness that Tracy has that is the problem. That is what I'm saying. My last and final point, and probably the most apparent one, and if you see anything else, I would love to hear what y'all think too, is the march scene. Motormouth Maybelle is throwing a goodbye party for Negro Day. The other folks who attend don't know that. She explains it at the end, and she says that it's because Velma Von Tessel says they're not getting enough ratings, but we all know why somebody like a Velma Von Tussle would want to get rid of a Negro Day in the first place. So Tracy, being really energized, she says, fine, you guys are just going to come dance with us. So then Motormouth Maybelle asks her, like, Tracy, have you been falling asleep in history class? And she's like, yes, always. And she means it, right? We see Tracy all throughout the movie going to school like it's just an obligation. She's sleeping in class, she's not paying attention, whatever. Even if she was paying attention in class, I could appreciate the fact that she was not going to get the level of education that would explain to her how segregation works and how it's hurting Black folks around her. She was not going to get that in the 1960s. I mean, they're really trying to push a way to get rid of it now. So my point is, though, that she doesn't have to be in school in order to know what time it is. Segregation is all around Tracy. She doesn't need a history class to tell her that. But it's a fundamental misunderstanding of not only what it would take to make that happen for the folks that she wants to help, but also what they risk to lose by doing so at the same time. So when we get to the march scene, Tracy, she's marching with them, and then she chooses to do something incredibly foolish, which really solidifies my entire point. So everybody marches down to the news station, march leading by Motormouth Maybelle, who sings a powerful song that just gets me every time. Oh my God. But anyways, I'm sorry. They're stopped by police officers. He turns, I forget exactly how the interaction worked, but essentially he's talking to them and tells them just go home or whatever, but he says it kind of like in a really crass and messed up way. So he turns his back on them. He's like, I don't gotta talk to y'all. And so then Tracy takes her sign and hits him on the back and says, hey, I'm talking to you. And then everybody else around her, all the Black folks around her, immediately are like, no. And then Motormouth Maybelle is like, Tracy, no. It escalates from there, naturally, and they threaten to take everybody into custody. Now, if Tracy had a little bit more understanding and wherewithal to be like, hey, I probably shouldn't do something like this because I might make out okay, but the people around me, I don't know, this could make things potentially worse for them. Like I said, I love Tracy down. I love Hairspray down. Okay? I love it. And also, it's okay to see a thing for a thing. But let me know what you think in the comments.